Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Please mute yourselves. Welcome to our third installment of our masterclass and concert series. I am Dr. William Schimmel, and I am the curator of this event. And we had a great 2 days, and we learned. I think we learned a great deal, and that's the purpose of the seminars. The purpose of the seminars is to learn and to leave. When we leave, to have our heads so filled with knowledge that it. Well, what I used to say is that I couldn't wait till they were over, so I could spend the rest of the year thinking about them. To think about all the stuff that went down. So what I look forward to when these seminars are all over is just finding ways I can use all the material, finding new ways to do things. And that's kind of what we do here at the seminars. We try and find new ways to incorporate the accordion, and also new takes on old ways, also on obvious things that people don't think too much about. And we spent a little bit of that this weekend, including playing outdoors and things of that nature. And we're going to deal with that. We're going to deal with a few interesting things in our masterclass today. One of the first things we're going to talk about is playing for or teaching very young people, including babies. And our own Mary Spencer Knapp does this. She has classes for very young people, as well as babies. Mary is a triple and quadruple threat person. She's an accordionist. She's a keyboard player, and she's a singer in every conceivable style, from classic leader to Broadway. She's been in a Broadway show recently, and but she's going to tell us about her class that she teaches to young people and to babies. And after that, I ask her a series of questions, and she's going to answer them, and they're interesting, and you'll, of course, see and hear what they are. I'd like to introduce to you now Mary Spencer Knapp.
Hello, my name is Mary, and this is how I introduce the accordion to babies and toddlers. Does anyone know what this instrument is? It looks like a piano, but it's a piano attached to a box. And the box breathes. Listen, what does it sound like? It sounds like the ocean. Waves coming in and out. You know what it's also like? It's like our bellies, filling up with air when we breathe. In, out, in, out. Some people call it a squeeze box, because you can squeeze it. Now, when I play the accordion for the little ones, I like to do something rhythmic and punchy. I feel good, na-na-na-na-na-na. I knew that I would, na-na-na-na-na-na. I feel good, I knew that I would, na-na-na-na-na-na. So good, I got to see the movement with the accordion, so I'll run around. It makes good, it works well for like a train song, you know. All aboard the ginger train. This train is going to the city. This train. So, you know, they like to hear that rhythmic, punchy stuff. And we've been running around and running around and running around for so long. And by the way, I didn't mention that the age range of my classes is usually 1 to 5. But I also have babies, sometimes infants in my class. And so, you know, I try to create a varied sonic palette for them. So I do bring a lot of different instruments to class. But they're definitely most mesmerized by the accordion. And after class, I usually let them play the buttons, explore the keys, and they could literally do that for hours just pressing these things. But after a high energy song, you know, I might do something a little bit more laid back. Just let them hear these tones. Focusing thing, you know, if you have a class that's very distracted. I mean, sometimes you got to match their energy, right? If they're up and running around, you're not gonna draw them in with drones. You got to get up and run around and jump around with them. So I love using this instrument for class with the little ones. And as I don't know if I mentioned, but I do these in the park. So this is also a great instrument for the park because the sound really carries. And from far away, people are like, "Oh, what's that? What's going on?" You know, they don't see that many accordions in the park. So that's how I use accordion with babies.
Question. You came to the seminars as a singer, got hooked on the accordion. You were never the same since. What was the alchemy? How did it affect pretty much everything that you do?
I was starting to learn, and I sang with Robert McMahon, and we did some French songs. And I had become interested in college, singing this repertoire, arranging music for an 8-piece band that included accordion. And so from there, that was my jumping off point to start learning the instrument myself. And I'd played piano since I was young, classical piano, but the accordion was the first instrument that I accompanied myself singing, and the first instrument that I was really writing songs with. When I started really playing, I started to form a band, and so in a way it's the instrument that helped me find my voice, and it helped me, it led me to a lot of unexpected things. I've always called it an instrument of discovery, but also what was unique about it and kind of the alchemy, to use that word that Bill used in asking me this question, it was the movement that it allowed me. You know, soon after I started playing, I started playing in a cumbia band, and that's where I really found my movement and rhythm with the instrument and kind of built my stamina to be able to play standing for long periods of time. And I found that it helped my body to avoid injury or, you know, stiffness, that the more I could move with it, the better I would feel and the stronger I would get. And I think the thing that took the longest for me was to find that percussive element, because as a piano player, you know, you approach that instrument by, in my case, banging it. And so the accordion, you know, took some getting used to. Okay, the dynamics aren't exactly controlled by power here. You know, all the power is here. So part of building up that stamina was, okay, finding that percussive element through the bellows. Sometimes, you know, I want to separate myself and just be a singer or a pianist or a dancer. But when I come back to it, I always feel complete, like the most kind of self-sufficient musician I can be. It's like a shield. You know, it has literally saved me when I was running upstairs in a show. Like, I fell on it and the bellows broke, but I was intact, at least for a little while.
Question. The early accordion records, including mine, were vinyl. Do vinyl recordings give the accordion more resonance, and why? My first album, Dilettante, I printed to vinyl. There aren't really any solo accordion moments on that album. I don't own a record player, so I think I only heard it on vinyl like one time. It should also be noted that the album was recorded digitally. I did recently do a session with a company called Least Evolved, a direct to vinyl session, just singing and playing. And again, I don't have a copy of those recordings, but I did hear a little bit, and it was quite a sound. It was vintage.
Beautiful, actually, the quality of the sound. Even more than that, just the experience of recording direct to vinyl was a great lesson in kind of throwing perfection and being polished out the window, because there's no do-overs. So I just leaned into every mistake and kind of went with what my dreams are all about, which is always showing up unprepared and just winging it. That's kind of the theme of most of my performance dreams. So I love the experience and I love the sound, and maybe next time around I will grab a copy of the audio.
But we're all dilettantes, don't you see?
Thank you very, very much, Mary. I really enjoyed the session on teaching young people and teaching babies. I went to the Juilliard School with a gentleman. He was a quirky gentleman, and he always kept saying that he wanted to be a baby all his life. And he put it all in one word: "I want to be a baby in my life." And I think he would have enjoyed Mary's talk, and I think it probably would have reinforced his desire to continue being a baby all his life. And but nonetheless, there's a lot to learn from it. Okay, now Erica Marie Mancini has a collection of accordions, accordion-like instruments, things that are not accordions but sort of have an accordion dimension, things that look like accordions but are not accordions, and it's a really interesting array. I can't imagine even where she keeps them, but we'll also get a chance to see her Rococo apartment, where you see all these instruments, and she will demonstrate these. Erica was a protege of mine, and let's visit with Erica Marie Mancini.
Hi! My name is Erica. Welcome to my accordion crib. However, I am not going to show you any accordions today. I'm going to give you a tour of some of my unusual instruments that I have. First off, the Baldwin Fun Machine, which is a organ that was meant to be in people's homes. I think it's maybe from the 70s. And so it has a built-in drum machine, which is very exciting. So it's great for dinner parties, you know. So it has the automatic comping here, and so you can choose different patterns. So that's like a rumba pattern. Oh, they have Hawaiian. That's very exciting. tempo. And you can actually combine them too to make really crazy. So yes. And it has a volume pedal here. So yeah, it has a built-in speaker. It's pretty, even though it's not super huge, it's pretty heavy, so this thing has never left the house since it has arrived. I don't really plan on ever taking it out, but it's nice you can record. It's like gets really cool sounds out of it that you can use for sampling or just doing like little recording parts. So I'll show you some of the sounds. Actually, it does have an accordion sound here. There we go. That's the supposed accordion sound. And you can actually do the left hand as well without the rhythms. You know, so it has a weird vibrato kind of thing here. That's the accordion sound. They have like a vibraphone sound, harpsichord sound. Let's see. Ooh, that was a good sound. Let's see. Anyway, so that's a fun little organ. Also amazing light show. So sets the mood right away. Okay, so next I'm going to show you, oh, and I think this is from Craigslist. Okay, so that's a fun machine. This is the Pianochord, which I believe they actually had I'm on Mulberry Street here in Little Italy, downtown Manhattan. I believe they had a factory that was not too far away from here. It works, it has a fan inside this column, and so instead of, you know, with an accordion it's the bellows that push the air over the reeds. So for this it's the fan that's blowing the air consistently and continuously. So there's no bellowing action, so you could just hold it forever. So in that way it's kind of like a harmonium that it will just continuously go. So it's kind of, I really like it because it looks really theatrical, first of all. So it's like, wait, what the hell is that? You know? It's really cool for like modal stuff. I think it actually, and it has also a volume pedal here which controls the airflow. So you can be a little dynamic with it. I'm going to turn the fan off because I know that Dr. Schimmel hates the sound of the fan. I got this on Facebook Marketplace and I think I got it for like $200. I mean, I honestly wouldn't pay more for it. So he brought it down and it was in these huge boxes. It splits into 2 pieces. And I had a brunch gig that day at Ludlow Hotel and I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to bring this. And so I brought it to my brunch gig and everyone was like, what is that? Actually, what it's great for is I used it for a theater production that I did at Irondale Theater, and it was for a Brecht play, The Good Person of Szechuan, or The Good Soul of Szechuan. And it's actually excellent for theater things when you're in like a little pit situation because you don't have to bend down and pick up the accordion. So it's really good for getting between cues. And it just kind of saves your back a little bit, and it's just like casual to just, oh, I'm gonna hop over to this thing. So yes, that's the Pianochord, or Frankenkorgan, as I call it. Okay, so now we're gonna continue on our way. This is one of my more recent acquisitions. This is called the Taishi Goto. It's a Suzuki instrument. All right, so here we go. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strings. It has a drone string here, which is a low G, and then the strings above are an octave above, and then another octave above. So the guy who invented it and created it he was inspired. I've also seen Indian instruments that are sort of similar to this one. So maybe he stole it from I don't know. But it's inspired by the Kyoto, and it's supposed to be a simplified, easy version of that to play. But he was inspired by the typewriter. So I think this is probably a 1960s kind of invention. So these levers, interestingly, coming back to the accordion, which we know it's like keys with levers. This is a similar, it really made me think of the accordion of like, oh wow, it's kind of a similar mechanism there. So it's super cool. Unfortunately, you can kind of only do the drone in G, but it's also really cool for modal stuff. Play it. There's always different. You can bow it as well, but then you can also you could change the fundamental, the bass of pitch by holding it down one of the keys. So then that way it's not always droning on the G. And then you can also kind of, if it's loud enough, you can. So yeah, that's a Taishigoto. It sounds really cool through distortion pedals and stuff too, and fuzz pedals. Honestly, it's like instant sonic youth. It's just you play it and it's like, whoa, what? You know, when you have it through pedals. Speaking of pedals, now I'm gonna conclude the Taishigoto part, and now I'm gonna move to the Q chord, which is also, I found some similarities between the Q chord and accordion. So the Q chord is also a Suzuki instrument. It's like a synthesizer auto harp is the best way that I could describe it. And look, it has buttons just like an accordion, and it's the same exact freaking thing. And then you can play it instantly because it's the same, you know, it's the same exact mechanism. I would say that it's like if the Fun Machine and an auto harp kind of had a baby. And a synthesizer, because it also has sick beats. So I saw this girl performing with this at some show that I did that was featuring solo instrumentalists, and then literally as I was in the green room, I went on eBay and I bought it exactly that evening because I was like, this is just delightful. It's just so weird and amazing. So they also have an Omni chord, is like a different version of it, but this one's called a Q chord, and it has like a few more options and sounds. So so the way that it works, it has major, minor, 7, and then diminished. I think is, or that's not diminished, but so it has different augmented. There's the diminished, and it also has different sounds. So I think that one was the guitar sound. That's the piano sound, strings. I like this. This is my favorite. The vibes, organ sound, voice. Oh, and this is not to be missed. Are the sound effects. Very exciting. So you can also play instead of using. I'll explain the strum plate. So here, they have a chopper effect. Oops. I totally used that in a recording with my cumbia band. It was ocean themed, so we obviously sampled all of the. Sorry, it's really loud. Oh, that's the dolphin sounds, you know, classic. So it has a strum plate. So it's a little haphazard. Like you can't be super accurate with the pitches, but whatever. And then it has a pitch bend, all that kind of thing. And then it also has the drum machine part. So I'll show you the drum machine. So they have different rhythms. Bossa Nova. Oh, this one's great. New Age. Oh. that's pretty delightful. So this thing is amazing, and without fail, everyone's like, whoa, what is that? What I think is also really cool is that you can run MIDI in and out of this. So if you're technologically savvy, you can get really weird with it. And I've done some things like running Ableton into this and then having like other sound. It's just, it's kind of endless. But now, so I have all these instruments, and then this isn't really an instrument, but it kind of is, which are this is some of my pedals that I have. And I'm gonna just demo a little bit. And you know, I run my accordion through this specific pedal board, and certain things work better with the accordion because it is an acoustic instrument, not an electric guitar, so the signal is different. So it gets a little complicated, but this is actually a great example because it's the same output as a guitar, which is what these pedals are made for like that level of current basically to go through it. So I'll show you just like a little bit of this. So this is the vibe sound that I was showing you before, right? But what's really cool when you combine them and, you know, put them all through. Oh, this one's freaking cool. So basically, you know, it's like a sound making device, and then the pedals just do all the magic. So yeah, it's really fun running accordions through there, and I've showed that before in some of our seminars of past. Anyway, I think I'm way over time. So that was the Erica apartment extravaganza. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you guys soon. And I'm gonna now show you a little video of me performing the song Tennessee Waltz with a few of the instruments that I just demoed to you guys. So thank you. Have a good.
Okay, now we will hear Erica playing the beautiful Tennessee Waltz.
Dancing with my darling to the Tennessee waltz when an old friend I happened to see. I introduced her to my loved one, and while they were dancing, my friend stole my sweetheart from me. Yes, I remember that night, that Tennessee waltz. Now I know just how much I've lost. Yes, I lost my little darling the night they were playing that beautiful Tennessee. She goes dancing through the darkness to the Tennessee waltz, and I feel like I'm falling apart. And it's deeper than drink, and it's dark Yes, I lost my little darling the night they were playing that beautiful Tennessee waltz. Yes, I lost my little darling the night they were playing that beautiful Tennessee.
Thank you, Erica. I'd like to say a few words about the Tennessee Waltz. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to be live now until the end of this masterclass. And then we'll take a break. The Tennessee Waltz was written by Pee Wee King. And Pee Wee King was an accordionist, in case you didn't know. And he wrote a number of hits in his in his day. You may know "You Belong to Me." See the pyramids along the Nile, watch the sunrise in the tropic isle. He wrote that one. And interesting thing is that back in the 1950s, when these songs were written, and Tennessee Waltz is really a sad song. They always performed them on TV. They always performed them with a big smile. And apparently it's the smile that sold the records. The biggest hit in the 1950s in terms of performances of the Tennessee Waltz was a singer named Patti Page. And she turned it into an absolute smash hit. I have the Mercury Records 45. I still have my version of it. And it's been covered by thousands of people. Patsy Cline, Willie Nelson, and one of the darker versions, of course, Leonard Cohen. And Leonard Cohen does two verses, the same two verses Erica did. And the second verse talks about deeper than drink, darker than sorrow, and gets into that really, really, really dark place. Now, that is not on the Patti Page recording. They left those things out and they kept it in a more bubbly fashion because back in the 1950s, that sold records. But Erica chose to do that second verse also, which has the darker side of it. Tennessee Waltz also is considered by many musicologists in that particular field of musicology to be the most perfect melody ever written because of its symmetry, its rise and fall. Perhaps there's truth behind that. I wouldn't argue the case. It is a extremely beautiful number. Interestingly enough, also that piano, that tabletop accordion she's playing that has that that silvery instrument, I would have nightmares over it. And in other words, that sound alone, I would hear it in my dreams, and in a few cases, it showed up in my nightmares, including that particular color. And after those nightmares, when they subsided, I could no longer eat Philadelphia cream cheese. Of course, it had that had that cover, the same kind of silver cover, and Klondike bars. I couldn't eat those anymore either. And I still haven't since. And so that's what that instrument did for me. But nonetheless, it's quite a novel instrument. We also covered a lot of electronic instruments in this particular weekend. we revisited the Moog synthesizer, and we've revisited the ARP synthesizer, and we heard all the electronic instruments that Erica used. We'll hear the V accordion, of course, the Roland V accordion at the concert, and the next piece I'm going to do is a piece by one of our mentors to many of us, and one of our friends, Otto Luening. Otto Luening was one of the first pioneers of electronic music. And he worked on the RCA synthesizer. And we got to know him really, really well. He was a wonderful human being. And he's the kind of person who would write the furthest out electronic piece in the daytime and go home at night and write Kentucky Rondo in this aw shucks optimism. And he worked with both sides. Never combined them. He always would, do the dark side, gargoyles, for electronics, and then go home and write something real aw shucks. And one of those pieces, of course, is Rondo for accordion that was commissioned by the American Accordionists Association. And one of the great stories in his book, Odyssey of an American Composer, is that he spent a good deal of time in Europe. And apparently one day he was sitting on a park bench and a gentleman sat down next to him. Perhaps they were waiting for a tram or something of that nature. And they struck up a conversation. And the conversation of this gentleman said that he was a writer. And so Otto Luening says, "Oh, what are you writing?" And this gentleman said, "Well, I'm working on something. I'm having a tough time with it. It's based on Ulysses." And so Otto Luening said, "Oh, that'll never work." And of course, that writer turned out to be, you guessed it, James Joyce. And the two of them became great friends. And Otto set a lot of Joyce's verses and poems to music. I'm going to play one now. And since it's written for voice and piano, not being a vocalist, I'll recite the Joyce poem and then play Otto's notes. The twilight turns from amethyst to deeper and deeper blue. The lamp fills with a pale green glow the trees of the avenue. The old piano plays an air sedate and slow and gay. She bends upon the yellow keys, her head inclines this way. Shy thoughts and grave wise eyes and hands that wander as they list the twilight. The twilight turns to darker blue with lights of amethyst. beautiful tune, and very simple and very innocent sounding, and a good contrast to the poem. And now I'm going to do another work written by one of our veterans of the seminars, Lee McClure. And Lee's been with us for 27 years, and so has a few others, which I forgot to mention yesterday. Godfrey Nelson and Lorraine Nelson Wolf have been with us for 27 years. Paul Stein, 27. I think Will, 26 and a half, because you attended the first one and then you played for the rest. And so here's a piece called Carillion Narrows. This is written by Lee McClure, and he wrote it for me. Lee McClure, ladies and gentlemen, Lee McClure. And the next piece is written by Mark Kostabi. Now, Mark Kostabi is a painter, and a rather well-known one, and probably one of the most successful painters today, and a number of years ago when he came to New York. Rumor has it that his paintings have all outsold Andy Warhol. And you'd recognize him if you've seen them. Recently, he has become a composer. And I've taken part in some of his recordings. And here is a piece that just happened to be called Twilight Echo and seemed absolutely appropriate for this afternoon. And here it is, Twilight Echo. That was Twilight Echo by Mark Kostabi. Now, lovely piece, actually. I'd like to talk a little bit about music for special needs adults. And you're going to hear some of it at the concert. You're going to hear Mike's Place, my son. He has a band. We meet every Monday. And Mike is an adult with Down syndrome. And he, over the past number of years, has been getting together with Keith, a bass player who's autistic, and Dad, Mom, and anyone else who wanted to join in. Brian Dewan would join us occasionally. Paul Stein would drop by, and Edith Slade would drop by, a wonderful banjo player, and we would have these incredible jam sessions. We'll hear two today at the concert. Mike plays drums, and so he's the thing that I worked with Mike on, and Micki, is that it was very, very important for him to really, really get into the pocket of the beat. And it took a while, but nonetheless, he was able to get into the pocket of the beat. One of the things you notice, and when you hear the best rock and jazz drummers, is that they don't do anything all that fancy, the best ones, but they get inside a beat in a way that no one does. Even when you listen to like Charlie Watts and the Rolling Stones, he nails a beat. He sometimes doesn't seem to be doing much at all, but he gets inside that beat. And so we worked on that. Keith on bass, interestingly enough, he's autistic. He apparently knew every song ever written. If you played Time of the Seasons by the Zombies, he could tell you the day it was written, what year it was written, the members of the band. He had that quality, and so in many cases we relied on him to call the songs, and he of course knew all the bass lines. And the great thing about the accordion, of course, with all this is you can just cross genres. So it didn't have to be just a rock band. It could be, one week it was an Italian cinema band where we did Fellini stuff. And then one week it was simply just a blues band. And one week it was a covers band of all, like, say, surfing music and things of that nature. And somehow the accordion fit into all of it. Of course, we know that's the beauty of the accordion. It can be sometimes an absolute chameleon, where there's no genre you can't just slip into. And so with special needs adults, it was incredible that an accordion can be a part of that. So I suggest, if you ever get into that wonderful situation of being able to do that, I would absolutely jump on the chance. It's so rewarding. And also when things get back to much more of a normal and we start doing Mike's Place live again, we invite any one of you to join us for a session. They're every Monday, somewhere around 11. And so now, I also wanted to say a few things about performance. The thing that's missing in a lot of accordion performances, that it has this in-your-face force behind it. And what it really needs is a sense of playing from, and I'll show you that, playing here from the chi. That way, it's like a fire in your belly. That way, you're free. Your arms are free. Your fingers are free because all the energy and the fire is there. And so your fingers become more flexible. Your movement of your arms become more flexible. And your volume can be more controlled. Now, one can talk about that a long period of time. How does one get that? Well, there's various ways to find out. I mean, there, some people do Tai Chi Chuan, and some people do other disciplines. But just doing what I told you now can make all the difference in the world, and also posture. Make sure that your posture is correct when you're, do not slouch when you're playing the accordion. Stay in the middle of the chair, and that way you can move backwards, you can move forwards, you can move to the side, and you can move to both sides. And that way, and you'll be in more control. And so that's my advice to all of you. And we all can use more of that. So incorporate that into your practicing. Now, we will take a 5-minute break, and we will be back with a concert. Thank you so much. You can talk amongst yourselves.
I think I missed the first sentence of what Bill said about this. How do you, somebody could rephrase, like playing from your center, from your stomach.
Chi, playing from your chi.
From your chi, yeah.
C-H-I. Yeah.
C-H-I. Thank you. It's probably good for singing and playing as well.
Yeah.
Gene Valonis, I just sent you a thing in the chat. Okay. Oh, I think the best Twilight we've heard 3 recently, was David Stoller's yesterday.
Nice. Just unmuting. What's out there, Jean? I can't quite tell. I see trees. I see trees of green. I have a question for the group. If you've played sing-alongs for senior citizens, what's your favorite song to play that people will really know?
Sounds like you've done it.
I'm about to do one for my mom's assisted living. We were having all these discussions. That song's too sad. No, that song's about somebody loving somebody. Everybody here misses somebody. No, don't do that one.
I remember when
go ahead.
Oh yeah, when I bought my first accordion in 1983, and I was just starting to learn it. I was 20 years old, and my mother said, "Oh, play Don't Sit Under the Apple Tree." And I said, "What's that?" And she said, "What? You don't know Don't Sit Under the Apple Tree? Well, since then I knew it, but I didn't know it then. But I can remember, at some point, a friend of mine who's a little older than me told me how he was appalled that he met a young person who never heard of the Beatles. He didn't say how young the person was, but I tried to explain, well, there's a first time to learn anything, and to you and I, the Beatles have been so long canonized. It seems bizarre to think of somebody never hearing of these people who were so hugely famous. But I thought it was funny how he felt it was a moral failing on the part of the young person to have never heard of the Beatles. And of course, I went straight back to, what? You don't know Don't Sit Under the Apple Tree? So maybe that's a good one to answer your question, to pull out in a show.
Yes, I like that one.
Yeah. And I've never learned it. Maybe I should learn it now.
I'm going to try it. We'll see.
I got a question. Does anyone know the song Chirabira Bim? It's a 50s pop song.
No.
Anyway, Chirabira Bim. I'm not even saying it right, but it's some weird title.
I'm going to search it.
I'm intrigued.
I've Google searched it. Anyway. Sorry, Colin. My mom died a horrible death of Alzheimer's, and like the last thing she could remember is music. Yeah. When she couldn't remember me or my dad, or it was.
That was used for beer. That was used for beer commercials. I remember in the 50s. Cherry Berry Ben.
I can answer that question. It's Italian.
Oh.
So Tom,
Bitty bitty bean.
How do you spell the title?
I think it's Cibiribin. I believe it is.
Can you do that once more? I'm slow.
Ciribibin.
Ciribin.
Ibin.
Bin. So it's all I's?
Yeah, Chiribiribin.
Cherry.
That's the correct. I believe that's the correct pronunciation. It's Italian like I am.
That was pretty common in some early.
Oh yeah.
It was pretty common in some early books for accordion. A lot of us played it in the 50s, and you often heard it on beer commercials.
Well, the reason I'm asking that is I wrote an opera, and the librettist grew up knowing this tune, and he asked me to do an arrangement of it. So I put it in the opera with different words, obviously, and slowed it way down. It wasn't a peppy tune. It was a lullaby, actually.
Maybe I'll get my music teacher to teach it to me.
Back.
Benny Goodman or something?
I ask everyone to mute yourself, and we're going to start the concert.
Bye-bye.
And we were talking about all the veterans to the seminars. And now I'd like to introduce a newcomer, Rachel Quirbach. And she's going to play her own composition, Fading Light, using the Roland virtual accordion. Rachel Quirbach. Beautiful, Rachel, beautiful, and really good, tasteful use of the Roland V accordion. And now, what could be better than hearing Neil Young on the accordion? And Bob Goldberg will give his version of Neil Young's great hit, After the Gold Rush. And so let's listen to that and also watch it. Bob Goldberg, After the Gold Rush. Thank you, Bob. What a choice, Neil Young, and it's great to hear Neil Young performed on the accordion. Erica Marie Mancini is back with a piece that she co-composed, and it's entitled Mannequin.
Be
by the way, that trapeze section, that's for real, by the way. That wasn't doctored in any way, shape, or form. That's Erica on the trapeze. And apparently she also does that with the accordion. And perhaps in her next video, she'll do that and hang upside down playing the accordion. But nonetheless, it was quite neat to see that in the video as well. One of the things I wanted to bring up in terms of that particular performance is notice that the accordion, even though you see it from here and there, you hear it as part of the texture. I mean, you hear the accordion buzz. You know, that thing that the accordion does have when you put it in an ensemble. It sort of has a bit of a buzz to it, the reeds. And you hear that buzz in the texture. So when you put it inside the texture, it takes on a whole new dimension. And so it's not necessarily out front and then, you know, blaring in your face. And we have a lot of that. And I think we should start thinking more in those aspects. Not necessarily solo, accompanying, all that's great. We have to have that and we need it. But there's other ways to look at how to use the accordion. And in many cases, and Kurt Weill is one example, he wrote very little for the accordion, but everybody regards him as an accordion composer. And truth of the matter is, he understood the power of the accordion. For instance, you know, in a Kurt Weill piece, you might play a little bit of accordion, and then the accordion drops out. And what happens is the accordion has already added a texture, so when you drop out, the resonance, the overtones of that texture still remains, and you still feel you're hearing the remnants of the accordion. So in a sense, you hear it in its presence, and you hear it in its absence. And that is known as the radiant accordion. And so use the radiant accordion and start thinking about that as well in your performances, in your compositions, and also the way you view ensemble playing. No matter what you play in an ensemble, it will always be important. I don't care if it's 3 notes. We're now going to hear Carl Riehl, who's been with us for many years. He's going to do 3 jams, and he has the H hyphenated. So let's find out why. Carl Riehl. Thank you, Carl, and thank you for bringing us to Twilight and that gradual progression to Twilight, and it's a wonderful journey. And now, every now and then, I play with a group called the Yorkvillians, and we usually play at the bar Thalia and in Manhattan, Upper West Side. And we're going to play a work that I wrote back in the 1970s, and I wrote it for this cabaret singer and one of Andy Warhol's superstars, Ultraviolet. And it was her cabaret show called Purgatory. And this song is called You're Trying Too Hard. I suppose we can all learn from that. And it's myself, it's Dan Cooper on 8-string bass, it's Michiyo Suzuki on clarinet, and John Ferraro on bass. And the videographer is Micki Goodman. So let's enjoy You're Trying Too Hard. As that's being queued up, I'll tell you a little bit more about that. In the 1970s, there was a lot of cabaret going on. And I was doing that scene for a while, and one of the... yes?
He's got something queued up with 2 women. Is that something else?
He has something else queued up? Oh, okay. I could be in the wrong place. Queue up. All right. Yeah. Okay. I was wrong.
Okay,
Gotcha. Okay.
Un, deux, trois, quatre, cinq, six.
that was Mary Spencer Knapp, who you've heard before, and Natasia Thweat. And it's spelled Thweat, Sweet, I will say it that way. And they're playing Belle Nuit. It's by Offenbach. It's from it's a barcarolle from the Tales of Hoffmann. I am a great fan of Offenbach. I really am. I consider him one of the greater underestimated composers. It's a very, very beautiful work. And actually this arrangement was done by Denise Konchelik. And it's really a good use, a tasteful use of two accordions and two vocalists. And it's not easy to get that balance between those two vocalists and two accordions. And as you notice, that the accordions accompany, in a sense, they give that rocking boat effect. And by the way, they are moving to it as well. And even the accordion with the bellows can actually add visually to that, in a sense, that rocking boat feeling of the barcarolle. And so that was a beautiful rendition of Tales of Hoffmann. Now we can go back to what I was talking about. We can hear You're Trying Too Hard by the Yorkvillians. And so I believe we're queued up for that. If you think you're getting smart, you're trying too hard. If you think you're falling apart, you're trying too hard. If you think you're saving yourself, you're trying too hard. If you think you're behaving yourself, you're trying too hard. Don't try it. Don't buy it. Don't try it. You're trying too hard. coming out tonight. I think we could all learn from that. It's in a lot of cases we're all trying too hard, and by the way, notice the accordion playing. It didn't push all that hard, even though it was rhythmic. And so think about that when you're playing in a band. I didn't punch it out to a point where it overpowered what I was trying to say. And so therefore, you didn't hear the accordion overpowering the voice, which can happen, especially in a club and in a band where you're using amplification. Okay, so consider that when you're, playing in those particular situations. The next piece, I have an interest in the music of Rodgers and Hart. And I asked my friend, Lauren Flanigan, you may know her work. She's a city opera diva. And she runs a school and a house. It's called the Music and Mentoring House, where she has students live at her house and work with her. And so they're constantly getting musical education, and they're constantly living with someone who's been through the paces and can take them through the paces. And I can't think of a better way to get an education, a musical education. I really can't. And so what I asked them to do, if they could do a version of My Funny Valentine only using one chord. And the chord that has, let's say, most of the notes of My Funny Valentine in. And I asked, for the vibe, think maybe the opening of the Luciano Berio Sequenza, Symphonia, or, Stockhausen's Stimmung tuning, and perhaps capture that vibe. So here is My Funny Valentine. If you listened hard, you could actually hear the tune intertwining here and there. But all the notes of My Funny Valentine were contained in that particular chord. We're now going to take you to Mike's Place, and we're actually going to hear some examples of Mike's Place. And let's listen to the first one, which you'll hear Michael Schimmel, Edith Slade, and myself and Brian Dewan. Michael Schimmel on drums, Edith Slade on banjo, Brian Dewan on auto harp, which has an accordion dimension. You know, you push buttons and you get chords. So another version of accordion, and myself on 12 bass Horner accordion about 75 years. Now Paul Stein joined us in another one. So let's hear that one. And Paul Stein brought his melodica, so another offshoot of the accordion. I think we're covering all bases in that department. Now let's go to Brian Dewan, and Brian is going to do two numbers, and the first one I know, and that's called Mr. In Between, and I know it from the Burl Ives version. And then he'll do In the Gloaming. But let's hear Mr. In Between, played and sung by Brian Dewan.
Mr. In Between, Mr. In Between, better leave the sea. Mr. In Between. Well, I'm too old for girls and I'm too young for women. I look all around and my hopes they are dimming. I feel like a fish not allowed any swimming, and it makes the fellow mean. to feel he's a part of the lost generation. I feel like a choo-choo that can't find the station. I work like a dog with no recreation, and they call me Mr. In-Between. Mr. In-Between, Mr. In-Between, makes a fellow mean. Mr. In-Between, I got a hot rod Chevy with a twin carburetor, and I got a gal that's a real sharp tomato, but she's got a daddy with a caddy that'll date her. You see what I mean? The sweet young thing's just sets me to drooling, but I'm too big for sodas and too old for schooling, too young for loving and too old for fooling, and they call me Mr. In-Between. Mr. In-Between, Mr. In-Between, tries to live so clean. Mr. In-Between, oh, I feel like a sailboat kept in a bottle. I feel like an engineer that can't find the throttle. I'm too small to walk, but too weak to toddle, and lordy, I'm turning green. To see all the men making time with the ladies, the high school kids at the show with their babies, while I run around like a dog with the rabies, and they call me Mr. In-Between. Mr. In-Between, Mr. In-Between, better leave the scene. Mr. In-Between,
and let's hear Brian do in the gloaming.
something best for me.
Thank you, Brian. And we will close the program. Micki, Goodman, and myself will do a work called Gratis ad Parnassum, Framed. And the text is based upon a book by Joseph Fuchs about a young would-be composer coming to the master for counterpoint lessons. And this is the dialogue that goes on, of course, in my way. So this is Gratis ad Parnassum, Framed. To study freaking composition. It's like taking a huge freaking leap. First we take one note and place it upon the other. It's like doing your chick and getting a kick from the crack that you stole from your mother. To one is the way we'll go now, and you won't get it anyhow. You're so dumb. Notes to one. Hey, you're getting it now. It's much better than the other. Now we'll do motets and madrigals. Now we'll do motets and madrigals. You know, it's putting it all together. I'm sick as hell now. I'm dying from the gout, from the sif, from the clap. Now it's your turn to pass it on. Not the sif, not the gout, not the clap, but the stuff I just taught you. Maybe some other sucker wants to learn it. I'm sick as hell now. Farewell, and pray to God for me. Farewell, and pray to God for me. Farewell, farewell. farewell and pray to God for me. And pray to God for me. This brings our 27th year of the seminars to a close. I would like to thank my wife, Micki Goodman, for her guidance, for our collaborations, and without Micki, these seminars would not take place. I would like to thank each and every one of you who attended today. I would like to thank those, of course, who have participated over a long period of time and who are newcomers. And I'd like to thank the American Accordion Association, and also some thanks to Denise Gonchelik for her publicity helping, as well as a number of the arrangements that she did for some of the performers. Thank you. And of course, I'm going to thank my technical director, Rashid Elad Looney, for his support, and also any little glitch that took place. 2 seconds later, we were right back on, and it takes a master to do that. So I really appreciate him for that. And so thank you again. And let's talk a little bit. Let's you can turn your we can have a little chat. So it's open. I'm open for discussion.